of your favorite wrestling shows rolled into one. Welcome to the We Book It podcast. Let's start the show.
Hello and good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Who's Next in NXT. Yes, I know I am not Virgil, but I am filling in for him tonight. I am Coach, your current Booking World Champion, and filling in for Virgil tonight as he gets some other things taken care of. He'll be filling in for me tomorrow night for the AEW recap, but a lot to talk about here tonight of what happened in NXT. We had a very, very interesting opening segment. We're just going to jump right into it. We start out with recapping last show. We talk about Mike Santana returning. Well, now he goes by Cruz Montana, only for Grayson Waller, who we've been wondering what has happened to him ever since the New Day got released. He comes up with a mic, gets into the ring, and starts talking about what's been happening with his career. He talked about how he debuted at Madison Square Garden against Cody Rhodes and how he did it, or I'm sorry, not Cody Rhodes, it was Edge. He debuted against Edge at Madison Square Garden and how he did a pretty good job in that match. He then talked about WrestleMania 40, how he won the SmackDown Tag Team Championship in the ladder match. And then he went to talk about how the last 2 years have not been his best years. And he said he agreed that, yes, this has not been good for him. And he was completely open. But what he talked about was how he went after Austin Theory, his former tag team partner, and basically said that he was carrying around 240 pounds of dead weight and that Waller was doing such a good job with Theory that the crowd was actually cheering for him, which they were, and that was the most entertaining he's been in his entire career. And even then, he called Theory the Marty Jannetty of the group and said he still can't even talk on the mic, which, very interesting things to say right there. But then he went and talked about Montana. He talked about Tony D'Angelo, mocked pretty much the whole men's roster, calling them soft, and that the women's roster was so much better. He even made a great point that only 10% of the roster is ready to be called up, and that 10% is all on the women's side. And again, he's not wrong. He makes some very, very valid points. He said that is coming back. He's coming back for that NXT title. And as he was doing that, his microphone got cut off, and then he went to the camera and said that he's here to rattle some cages and kind of shook the camera a little bit. Yeah, I mean, what a start. First off, Waller did not miss a beat there. He has always been good on the mic, and it's been frustrating with his booking that he has not been able to shine in the ring because he is a really good in-ring competitor. So if this is the best way for him to get some time in the ring and on TV, I think it's the best way to go. And he even talked about how this is a quote-unquote new day for him in WWE being with NXT. To be honest, I think he's probably going to be the man to dethrone D'Angelo now. So this was very, very interesting. I just think what he said, that you could just sense the emotion in there with how he was feeling, and there was a lot of truth in there. And I'm glad that Shawn Michaels let Waller kind of express himself a little bit there, and rightfully so, calling out the terrible booking that has been happening for the last 2 years in his in his case. All right, we get to our first match of the evening, which is Lizzie Rain taking on Izzy Dame with, of course, Nico Vance at ringside. A lot of physical offense in this match. Izzy found her edge, sending Lizzie face first into the apron as we went to a commercial break. Rain then began to rally back from the break, hitting the machine gun chops that really got the crowd fired up. Izzy Dame managed to catch her with a blue thunder bomb for a near fall, and then an air raid crash from Lizzie nearly took the win, but Izzy responded with a running crucifix that was another near fall. And then finally, it was a running headbutt that was going to set up the Thunderstruck, but Nico Vance distracted Lizzie into a big boot. Sean Spears then arrived to scare off Nico, and that distraction allowed Lizzie to hit Thunderstruck for the victory. This match was pretty good, but it wasn't. I don't think it was the main thing they wanted. I think these women, if they had a little bit more pacing with the match, I think they would have had a better time. I think Dame was in control a lot, but it was just kind of a methodical, easy pace, whereas Lizzie Rain wanted to speed it up. And I think that's just, once they find some more chemistry, this is going to lead to a rematch for sure. They'll get to go to the next level next time. But the right woman won, as Lizzie Rain is the better and less established star right now, and NXT really needs to rely on her more. A couple other notes. Commentary team was of course on point with Vic Joseph and Booker T. Vic Joseph kept a running count of how many times Booker T was going to mix up the two competitors, but surprisingly only did it one time. So good job for him. And then Booker actually renamed Lizzie's air raid crash into Rock the Mic, which I would not be surprised if that becomes her new name. And then, of course, after the match, Lizzie got interviewed saying that she was setting her sights on the NXT Women's Championship, and then did a cheap product placement for KFC. So that kind of killed the mood there. Don't get me wrong, I love KFC, but it seemed a little forced on that one. All right, we get to our next match, which is a men's North American Championship match between Myles Borne and Kam Hendrix. Borne was in control early with his athleticism, and finally it was until Hendrix tripped Borne back first on the apron, and then we went into one of those picture-in-picture breaks. Hendrix got a firm advantage, but he spent too much time bad-mouthing Borne, and that allowed Borne to fire back with punches and clotheslines. Borne hit the Borne again, his finisher, but then Hendrix got his hands on the rope, and then as that was happening, they cut to backstage where Mason Rook decided to come on out into the ring. Tavion Heights was there, grabbed Rook and stopped him from interfering. Borne then survived a Showtime kick from Hendrix and slipped into another Borne again for the win. Afterwards, Rook brawled with Hendrix to the back. Then the Vanity Project struck, and despite all that, Borne and Tavion Heights cleared the ring and stood tall. This match, I think, was focused too much on Hendrix's ability as a heel to carry the action, and it was okay, but everyone knew that Myles Borne was going to win, and it was just a nice, smooth match for Myles Borne. Hendrix obviously still has a lot of work to do, but next week could be more unpredictable, because I think they could be leaning towards the route of Borne becoming a double champ. And we'll have to see what happens there. As for the rest of the match, Hendrix, he won one tag team match in his NXT in-ring debut and then somehow earned 2 title shots from it. That's pretty efficient, if you ask me. So good on for him. But yes, he still has a lot of work that he needs to do, does Kam Hendrix going forward. We go to our next match, which is a tag team match between the team of Stacks and Connors versus the OTM. We started out early, Connors trying to impose his will with loud chops to Lucian Price, but it only made him mad. And then they OTM double team Connors and sent him retreating outside. There was no answer for OTM into the commercial break, especially after they tossed Connors onto the whole group outside. During the break, we would get a hot tag from Price. He would then get looked into by the Birthright. Angel and Berto then came out to get in the face of the Birthright. Nima tried to ease the tensions, but it was distracted too long. Price took a combination of running knee and super kick for the Birthright win. This match was just all over the place. This match was just all over the place. It makes it weird because Nima is a face in NXT with OTM, but he's also now a heel in AAA with Los Perros del Mal, and he's just in a very awkward spot. This was kind of the issue. This kind of proved the issue for what's happening in NXT. They have the numbers are solid for the men, but they have too many experienced stars who look like rookies in certain spots, and it's very upsetting. And for fans of these wrestlers, it obviously shows that why they're frustrated, because their favorites are not looking good in these spots. So if you're wondering why your favorite NXT guy hasn't been called up yet, look to this match as a prime example. We then go to our next match, which is Shiloh Hill taking on Tristan Angels. Hill and Angels showed familiarity with one another. They had a nice little explosive offense. Angels took advantage with a neck breaker on the floor into the commercial break. Hill slowly fought his way back with his reverse flipping senton, as well as catching Angels flying with a falling scoop slam. Angels fired back with a superplex for a near fall. Hill ducked Angels' attempt to stomp him into the steel steps, then bounced him off the announce table with the power bomb. And finally, after a lot of back and forth, Hill caught Angel with a super thunderbreaker for the victory. You would think with the teasing of Hill's darker side, that would have been the kind of the standout, but he kind of worked this still as he is a baby face in a way. But him and Angels have great chemistry, and this was a fantastic match for NXT, and much better than their first clash. You can tell they've been working together and really wanted to get the chemistry down. Also, the way that they sold their hatred for each other was consistent, and you wouldn't have been upset either way, no matter what the outcome was. But the win for Hill here should end this rivalry for good. Angels needs to move on to opponents he can beat, while Hill can really start moving towards the NXT gold. We then go to our main event segment, which is Cruz Montana coming out and talking about his journey, admitting that he was no saint in life. He wanted to become a great wrestler and a worthy father to his daughter. He confirmed he was officially with WWE and that he wanted to come after the NXT Championship. Montana first called out Grayson Waller for his comments that started the show, but it was Tony D'Angelo that arrived. He put over the former TNA champion, but refused to give his spot to Montana. Montana took offense, dropping the microphone, but then Grayson Waller came back, laying into both men and setting up Montana to accidentally hit D'Angelo. The show ended with D'Angelo standing in the ring with a pacing Montana while Waller mocked them both from ringside. This was supposed to be a one to really establish Montana's new setting here for WWE and NXT, but it became more focused on Grayson Waller, that he is currently the best in NXT. And this was an interesting way to end the show. Obviously, there's going to be more opportunities for Montana in the future, but it is telling how many quote-unquote big name NXT has tried to establish recently and how few have lasted as big names. Montana really needs to step it up, or he's just going to fall into the mid-card spot like Mason Rook and Naruku have been. As we wrap things up, and it started out hot with Grayson Waller's return, and then it became a little bit downhill. It never could really catch up to how it started. I think the matches were okay, not the tag team match. I thought that was just bad. But everything else wasn't terrible. It was just an okay show, and I think going forward, this is something that the NXT roster really needs to look at. They need to stand out more. They need somebody to really step up, because if Grayson Waller's coming back, that pretty much means that there is a little bit of doubt into what this roster is capable of now, even though, yes, Montana is there and is the new guy, but it shows just that little bit of doubt in upper management that they have to bring a main roster guy down to kind of reestablish himself. So yeah, that was pretty much it for tonight. I thought a decent show, nothing crazy, a great start, but after that it just kind of fell flat and nothing really recaptured that. So I still think a very solid, an okay show. It was an okay show tonight for NXT. Well, that is going to wrap things up for me here. Thank you to all of you that tuned in. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to all of our content here at the We Book It Podcast. Filling in for Virgil tonight on Who's Next in NXT. I am Coach, and I will see you guys next time.